Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Hogwarts. My plants have billions of evil points. Chapter 31. The Wolfsbane potion is not a powerful healing potion, its only function is to make the werewolf maintain human sanity in the voice-changing state, nothing more. Moreover, the werewolf wizard who took the wolf's poison potion would fall into a weak state that lasted for several days. This state was very fatal, especially for werewolves who lived alone. They almost lost the ability to resist. This is not a big deal. What's more important is that one potion can only maintain one transformation, that is to say, every werewolf needs to take one potion of Wolfsbane for a month to maintain his sanity. Expenses worth tens of galleons once a month are simply sky-high prices for a werewolf wizard who can't find a job, and without drinking Wolfsbane potion, he can't control himself on a full moon night. No one is willing to hire such werewolf wizards, and they naturally cannot find a job. The money they earn in a month is only enough to survive, so many werewolf wizards have fallen into a vicious circle. The status of the werewolf wizard has never changed, at least a wolf's poison potion can't do it. So one can also imagine the reason why Fenrir took refuge in Voldemort. He probably wanted to gain a certain status from the power of the dragon. But it is a pity that the powerful villain boss is useless in front of the protagonist's halo, and in the end Voldemort's failure almost pushed the werewolf group into the abyss. But that's all for later. Anyway, keep an eye on it for me. Leonard said, if you can, please help me contact Mr. Belby. Although it is said that you can send a letter through an owl if you know the name, Leonard, an unknown little wizard who is underage, does not have much weight for people to reply to. His letter may not be wiped open before being thrown into the fireplace and burned. This is normal. If a stranger sends a letter to Leonard, he will also worry about whether someone wants to harm me and send him a letter with a curse. The fireplace is its only destination. So if you want to contact Belle, then you can only rely on Giggs. No problem. Giggs did not refuse this trivial matter. Remember my white fresh essence. I'll never forget it. Leonard waved his hand and left Giggs' pharmacy. In the following time, Leonard went to Ollivander's wand shop to learn magic every morning and brought the white fresh essence made last night to Ziggs. In the afternoon, he read books and boiled potions. His life was quite fulfilling. Soon it was August. During this period, Leonard sold a total of 20 sticks of white fresh essence, earning 40 galleons. Including the galleons given to him by Midgard and Rondo, his savings already exceeded 4 galleons. Hundreds. It is already very troublesome to carry so much money with you, and a bag full of gold coins clinks on your body, which is heavy and eye-catching. This amount is enough to open a vault in Gringotts. But Leonard didn't have this plan. It is estimated that Voldemort has been taken to Diagon Alley by Quirrell at this time. It is too conspicuous for him to open the vault in Diagon Alley as a child. He doesn't want to accidentally attract the attention of the Dark Lord. In addition to having more than 400 deposits, Leonard's magic ability has also improved by leaps and bounds. With the help of Ollivander, Leonard has learned the Disarming Curse, Repairing Curse, Disillusionment Curse and Iron Armor Curse. These 4 enchantments represent offensive enchantments, life enchantments, support enchantments, and defensive enchantments. With the help of the fake Elder Wand in Leonard's hands, every spell has extraordinary effects. The disarming spell turned into a very lethal curse. After practice, Leonard deliberately controlled the wand, which could even fly upside down, and flew to the designated position according to his ideas. Leonard had experienced that magic wand at close range. Even walls reinforced with magic could not stop a magic wand knocked into the air by the enhanced disarming spell. That means he can even kill with the disarming charm. Needless to say, the Restoration Curse can repair magical products such as wands that cannot be repaired by the common Restoration Curse. Ollivander even found scrapped alchemy equipment. Once such precious props are damaged, only the maker can usually repair them. However, under the effect of the strengthening repair spell, the alchemy props were revived and started working again. The effect of the illusion charm is not very obvious, but after testing, the enhanced illusion charm seems to have no air resistance. Even when running, there is no obvious movement, but unfortunately there is still a body, and there is no way to pass through the wall. The effect of the Iron Armor Curse is the most obvious. Its defense ability is greatly increased, and it also increases the reflection effect. Ollivander estimates that this iron armor curse can even deflect the not very strong unforgivable curse and return them to the caster. It can be said that in just 1 month, Leonard has changed from a rookie in the magic world to an extraordinary wizard, not to mention the adult wizards of common, even some dark wizards are not Leonard's opponents. According to the statement in the original book that many Ministry of Magic staff don't know the iron armor curse, Leonard is at least more than 30% of Hogwarts graduates. And he also has his own special ability, which is to cultivate magical plants. The weather was fine today. The heavy rain last night made the air very fresh. Leonard whistled and watered the white fresh and biting kale in the flower pot. Needless to say, Baishian is still the common medicinal herb that was strengthened by Leonard once, and this biting cabbage is a plant that Leonard intends to plant for a long time. After a month of thinking, Leonard quickly discovered the real use direction of the enhancement swallow, which is to strengthen the parent with magical animal materials, so that the seeds of the plant will carry the enhanced effect of the parent, which can effectively reduce the magical animal consumption of raw materials reduces costs. Although the effect of this process will inevitably decline and even produce indistinguishable effects, it is still an effective method. In short, Leonard is still experimenting, hoping that the results will surprise him. For this experiment, Leonard also specially used the last remaining strengthening point to light up the strengthening of the growth system, root growth. But why hasn't the system responded recently? The novice guidance task is over. Leonard put down the water bottle in his hand and sighed. The novice guide is the easiest way to get strengthening points, otherwise Leonard can only choose to get other plants, use normal optimized growth to strengthen them, gain experience and gradually upgrade. For example, he gave him 30 experience points by optimizing the growth of the normally planted biting cabbage, but there is still a long way to go to upgrade. Although Leonard was in a hurry, he could only tell himself not to worry. There is no rush to collect magical plants. If you don't pay attention, Azkaban will start. Leonard is not like being a neighbor with a dark wizard or a Death Eater. Most dangerous magical plants are listed as prohibited items for sale. Once discovered, they will be fined and short-term travel to Azkaban, and few people are willing to sell them. The only way Leonard can get it is through Midgard. But werewolf wizards have a few days of weakness every month, which is fine for Fenrir and those werewolf wizards like him, nothing more than excessive physical exertion. For those werewolf wizards who don't want to hurt others, they will stay away from the crowd and turn into werewolves in the wild. Although this will prevent them from harming others, without humans, these irrational werewolves will often harm themselves, which is why Midgard bought white fresh essence for those injured men. There will be people who can't make it through. Therefore, Midgard, who replaced Fenrir as the leader of a small number of werewolves, was even busier. So Leonard didn't bother Midgard during this time. And even if you give me the seeds, it's useless. To make those seeds come in handy, I need at least a hidden place to plant them. Leonard looked at the biting kale stained with water droplets and shaking leaves and sighed, turned and went downstairs to have breakfast. Why didn't his system give him a piece of land? In this way, he can grow the plants he wants wantonly. Leonard ordered a chickpea soup and sat at the corner table, brooding as he waited for his food to be served. Although it is a bit regrettable, there is a low-level replacement with a field in the reinforcement system. Magic Seed Bag. This is an enhanced effect located on the 4th floor. It can mark the specified plants, automatically collect seeds after they produce fruits, and can also store additional seeds in invisible seed bags. The plant seeds inside can be taken at will. There is no distance limit and no space limit. This enhancement is like an additional ability. After lighting it up, it gives Leonard a shoddy portable space that can be specially used to put plant seeds. With this ability combined with the super speed growth of the strengthening effect, Leonard can even create an army with a wave. Like Swallow, this is the 3rd and 4th floor of the attack or defense must be lit before you can choose to light up, that is to say, at least 3 points of strengthening are required. Thinking about it this way, the future is quite promising, at least it is the growth that can be seen. The magic plate automatically floated onto Leonard's table. Leonard silently took off his breakfast, and served his breakfast with oatmeal bread dipped in bean soup and bacon. The chickpea soup at the leaky cauldron was pretty good, the beans were overcooked and very mushy. In the end, I still need a way to upgrade, and I also need a safe and reliable place to grow these magical plants. Leonard thought while drinking soup. Speaking of places, there really are Leonard's farms. You just need to make an agreement with your grandfather Lundo in advance to set aside a special area for planting magical plants. Rondo will definitely not object, or rather, Leonard still needs to allocate a little energy to prevent the fanatical Rondo from actively contacting these dangerous plants. My grandfather didn't have his own talents, and those magical plants would not spoil him. It's just that the farm in London is more suitable for development after graduation, otherwise Leonard would not have so much time to stay there. He would be staying at Hogwarts for 7 years, during which time he could only go back during the summer and Easter holidays, and had no time to take care of the plants at all. If possible, find a piece of land near Hogwarts where magical plants can be grown. The first choice is naturally the Forbidden Forest, but the Forbidden Forest is very dangerous, and there are often wizards haunting it. If you don't take precautions in that kind of place, you will just make a wedding dress for someone. Just when Leonard was thinking about where to get safe and fertile land, the door of the bar was pushed open, and with the sound of heavy traffic outside the door breaking in, 2 figures with strong contrasts, one large and one small, appeared at the door of the bar. Leonard looked up and saw a brown beard with a curvy face, at least 3 meters tall, wearing a shabby coat, and a mink scarf. He was holding a child with glasses who was the same age as him. "Hey, Hagrid, long time no see, would you like to have a drink?" Tom Abbott, the owner of the bar, greeted enthusiastically. "No, I have something else to do. I'll open a room for our Harry Potter first, and I'll take him to Diagon Alley for shopping later," Hagrid said excitedly. Rubeus Hagrid, gamekeeper and keykeeper at Hogwarts. Leonard looked at this hybrid titan who was biased towards humans, and silently ate a mouthful of beans, already foreseeing the possible conflict between himself and the other party in the future. There is no doubt about this. When he was in school, he would definitely try his best to sneak into the Forbidden Forest and fight wits with this gamekeeper. Even though he could use the powerful disillusionment charm to avoid Hagrid's interception, the opponent, as a gamekeeper, was familiar with the Forbidden Forest near Hogwarts. If Leonard wants to find a place where the magical plant can be grown, he must find a way to hide it from him. It's not easy. The Forbidden Forest is Hagrid's home game. Just at this moment, the system that seemed to be dead suddenly cheated. Novice Task 4. Safe Botanical Garden. As a plant cultivation expert, how can I not have my own botanical garden? Establish a botanical garden that is safe enough to plant more than 3 kinds of magical plants, reward 300 experience for successful missions, and 5 enhancement points. Well, the task came, but this task did not give Leonard a chance to solve the trouble, but put the trouble in front of Leonard completely. How can he still think about triggering the novice task to quickly upgrade to get strengthening points, and continue to light up the strengthening to help him enclose a piece of land to grow magical plants? It's now closed. Want to strengthen it? Strengthen it with a magical plant. But how can I grow without land? Then use the enhancement points to get better enhancements to help you get the land to grow magical plants. But I haven't strengthened it. Leonard squinted his eyes, and after listening to the system's novice task 4, he sighed in his heart, and silently ate another mouthful of beans, his expression gradually aggrieved. Bah, these beans are really unpalatable, the beans are so rotten, it's like chewing mud. Leonard made a small mistake that shouldn't have happened to him. As a scavenger who wandered in the gray area in his previous life, Leonard should have tried his best to avoid things that became the focus. But the sudden task disrupted his thinking and made him ignore one thing. That is, in the bar, when the guests, the boss, and the cleaners all shook hands with Harry Potter enthusiastically, a child sitting alone in a corner with a pensive expression would look a little out of place. People who don't follow the crowd are more likely to attract the attention of children. Oh, Merlin's beard, he is Harry Potter. The special welcome kicked off with the exclamation of Tom, the owner of the bar. The wizards sitting in the bar all stood up, flocking towards Harry Potter, surrounded him, and warmly extended their hands to shake hands with the savior. Harry Potter panicked for a moment. He was a little frightened by the enthusiasm of the people around him. However, under the friendly atmosphere around him, he quickly adapted and had the energy to look around the situation. Soon he noticed Leonard sitting in the corner of the bar. Others may not have noticed Leonard, an insignificant little man, but Harry Potter, who was surrounded, noticed this somewhat strange peer. When others were circling around him, wanting to shake hands with him, that peer who was eating soup with a blank face looked extraordinarily handsome. So when the people around were satisfied and left, Harry Potter turned his head and tugged on Hagrid's sleeve and asked, "Hagrid, is that person also a Hogwarts student?" Hagrid bent down, glanced at Leonard after hearing Harry Potter's question. His eyes lingered on Leonard's robes for a while and said, "Yes, it looks like a freshman." Freshman. Harry Potter's eyes lit up. He thought he should be able to make his first friends in the wizarding world. "It's time to go, Harry, we have a lot to do." Hagrid patted Harry Potter on the head as a reminder. "Wait, Hagrid, can I have a few minutes? I want to get to know him," Harry Potter asked expectantly. "Of course, no problem," Hagrid smiled. "Believe me, no one here will refuse to be your friend." The performance of those wizards just now gave Harry Potter a lot of confidence, and he mustered up the courage to walk in front of Leonard. "Hello." Harry Potter looked at Leonard expectantly. "Are you a freshman at Hogwarts too?" Leonard raised his head, glanced at Harry Potter in front of him, and at Hagrid not far away with an encouraging face. His mood became even worse. "Obviously, isn't it?" Leonard pointed to the robe on which the Academy logo had not yet appeared on his body. "What's the matter?" Harry Potter froze for a moment, his expression became embarrassed, and then turned a little pale. Because Leonard's reaction was a bit beyond his expectations. In fact, Harry Potter didn't know much about the aura of his own name, so he would subconsciously ignore this aura. Without this halo, the current Harry Potter is just a sensitive little boy who just left his family. "Well, I'm sorry, I thought you knew me," Harry Potter said sheepishly. "I really don't know you, because I'm a Muggle wizard. I don't know much about the wizarding world. Are you a famous star?" Leonard asked intentionally. "Muggle wizard." Harry Potter froze for a moment. "What is that?" "Wizard from a Muggle family. I didn't know anything about the wizarding world until I got a letter from Hogwarts." Leonard spread his hands. "So who the hell are you?" Harry Potter was taken aback, and quickly said, "My name is Harry Potter, I'm about the same as you, and I didn't know wizards existed before." "But you're not a Muggle wizard, are you? Those grown-ups are behaving strangely, as if you saved them." Leonard pushed the bean soup aside and jumped out of his chair. "I don't have the impression. They say I defeated the you-know-who, but I don't even know who the you-know-who is." Harry Potter said distressedly, "By the way, what's your name?" "My name is Leonard, Leonard Wilhelm." Leonard introduced himself, and then hinted at Harry Potter, "You are late, I recommend you to buy the equipment you need for school as soon as possible." "School equipment? That's not urgent. I think we can talk for a while. What do you think of the wizarding world? Isn't it interesting?" Harry Potter asked impatiently. Leonard's eyelids twitched, resisting the urge to cover his face. The one in front of him was still a child. Although he lived in an oppressed family since he was a child, that family did not teach Harry Potter to be careful, because they never concealed their malice. So young Harry Potter couldn't understand the hint. That can only be stated clearly. Leonard shook his head inwardly and said to Harry Potter, "I suggest you go and see for yourself, it's more interesting, isn't it? And I think the student Mr. Ollivander is waiting for should be you, don't keep him waiting." "Mr. Ollivander," Harry Potter repeated blankly, completely unaware of Leonard's hint that he should leave, with a confused look on his face. "Who is he?" "A master wand maker, well known in Diagon Alley." Leonard sighed inwardly, "He's been talking about you for a long time." "Come on, don't talk to him, it always feels like Voldemort or Quirrell will watch him secretly." At this time, the bar owner had already opened the room. "Hey, Hagrid, here's your key. Our savior lives on the second floor, the second room on the left in the corridor." Bar owner Tom shouted, throwing a key over by the way. "The second room on the left in the corridor on the second floor. Isn't that your next door?" The corners of Leonard's eyes twitched. "Thanks, Tom." Hagrid took the key and handed it to Harry Potter. "Let's go, Harry, we have to hurry up, we have very important things to do." "Okay." Harry Potter nodded reluctantly to Leonard, and followed Hagrid towards the back door of the Leaky Cauldron. This bloody reluctance. Leonard rubbed his face and sighed again. He really didn't want to be friends with the savior. It wasn't that Leonard rejected Harry Potter, he really didn't want to have a relationship with the protagonist. If Voldemort really burped, then Harry Potter was definitely a real favorite, and his aura destined him to have a bright future. But in fact, Voldemort was not dead yet, and Harry Potter who caused his death became the object of his attention. And it wasn't just the villainous boss Voldemort who paid attention to him, the decent boss, Hogwarts headmaster Albus Dumbledore also paid attention to him. Leonard really didn't want to expose himself to the eyes of the two big shots. His talent and system are there. Before he really rises, he doesn't want any external force to affect him. On the busy streets of Diagon Alley, Harry Potter, who had followed Hagrid into the wizarding world for the first time, looked curiously at everything around him, completely oblivious to the two gloomy eyes watching him from the dark. A man with a hood and a three-headed viper with a strange smell on his shoulder. Harry Potter. The poisonous snake spat out a bright red letter, and human words came out of its mouth. Master, Master, please don't talk, you will be discovered. Hearing what the poisonous snake said, the man looked around in fear and found that no one noticed him, so he was relieved. Cowardly waste, if it weren't for you, we would have gotten the Philosopher's Stone. The poisonous snake stared at the man viciously and growled. Yes, Master, please forgive me. The man trembled in fear. That is Harry Potter, do you need me to help you kill him? You are quite courageous in the face of an underage child, but what's the use of killing him? It will only make Dumbledore notice my existence. The poisonous snake bared its fangs. The only thing you have to do now is to find the Philosopher's Stone for me. With the Philosopher's Stone, I can be resurrected and rule the wizarding world again. Yes. The man lowered his head and whispered, with fear and dissatisfaction flashing in his eyes. If he doesn't complete the task of this Demon King, he will undoubtedly suffer torture that he absolutely doesn't want to suffer. Because he is the Dark Lord, the Dark Wizard King who threw the wizarding world into chaos for a long time, Voldemort. And he, Quirinus Quirrell, was just a common wizard whose life was held by the Dark Lord. But before that, I'll teach you a few good spells that will help you break through the gates of Gringotts. Voldemort's voice rang in Quirrell's ear. Powerful magic. Quirrell's eyes lit up. Thank you for your kindness, Master. Quirinus Quirrell, a madman obsessed with black magic, even took pains to find Voldemort's hiding place from clues, and wanted to extract black magic knowledge from Voldemort. It's a pity that Voldemort was not so weak that he could be manipulated by others. Quirinus Quirrell was killed instead, and fell into Voldemort's hands to become his slave. All his courage was exhausted by the painful torture after meeting Voldemort, and now he is a twisted weirdo who is timid and bullying, and likes black magic. Harry Potter, who was obsessed with these novelties in the wizarding world, didn't notice that someone was staring at him from behind. He just felt that his two eyes were not enough to see all these interesting things. He was almost obsessed in this magical world, forgetting his purpose. Fortunately, there was Hagrid, who soberly took Harry Potter to the Potter family's vault in Gringotts to fetch some galleons for Harry Potter, and then he took out a solid package from a deeper vault. Although Harry Potter was curious about what exactly Hagrid had taken, he was sensible enough not to ask. Then, Hagrid took him to buy the items he needed without delaying the progress. Finally, he brought Harry Potter to the door of Ollivander's wand shop. Harry, it's time for you to choose your wand next, Hagrid said, bending over Harry Potter. I won't accompany you in, I'll pick you up later. After speaking, Hagrid straightened up and turned to leave. Seeing Hagrid's leaving back, Harry Potter subconsciously turned his head to look at the front of the wand shop. Ollivander's wand shop. Mr. Ollivander, Harry Potter muttered and pushed open the door of the wand shop. Welcome to Ollivander's wand shop. Do you want to maintain your wand or repair your wand? If you want to repair your wand, please wait until the afternoon. My assistant will only come in the afternoon. Ollivander, who was arranging the shelves, said without looking back. Sorry sir, I'm here to buy wands. Harry Potter whispered. Buying a wand. At this time, Ollivander snapped his hand, turned around and saw little Harry Potter, a little surprised. Harry Potter, he smiled kindly, I thought you didn't enroll this year. Still with that extraordinary enthusiasm, Harry Potter felt a little numb, compared to Leonard Wilhelm's normal performance. I heard Leonard Wilhelm say you're waiting for me, Harry Potter said. Do you know him? Of course, I remember everyone who bought a wand from me, let alone Leonard. He impressed me even more. Ollivander smiled, he's my assistant, and he's right. I'm really looking forward to your arrival. Assistant, Harry Potter was more curious about Leonard than Ollivander's reason for expecting him. Anyway, the reason for looking forward to his arrival is nothing more than his name is the savior, but he doesn't know anything about Leonard. It seems that this little wizard from a Muggle family looks very special. Yes, the assistant on the restoration wand. Well, let's not talk about him, let's take a look at your wand. Ollivander smiled slightly, and began looking for a wand for Harry Potter. Meanwhile, Slugger Zig's pharmacy. Leonard walked into the pharmacy and greeted the owner Giggs. Giggs, is there any news about the Wolfsbane potion? Leonard asked. Giggs, who was clearing the accounts, raised his head and looked at Leonard. Oh, it's you, there is news, and it's not a small news. What do you mean? Leonard asked, finding a chair and sitting down. This guy Damocles wants to sell the formula of Wolfsbane potion. Ziggs said casually. Sell it. Leonard almost burst out laughing. This was his goal. But why? It's normal. Someone has inquired about the potion research that no one cares about, so he will naturally not let this opportunity go. Ziggs couldn't hold back, perhaps because he couldn't bear to see Leonard being cheated. But don't be fooled. He lied. Cheat? How is he going to lie to me? Leonard asked curiously. It's nothing more than how many werewolves need to be saved, and how promising this potion formula is. Giggs gave an example casually. In short, I only have one sentence, this medicine has no future. How much is he going to sell for? Leonard asked. I didn't give a price. He wants to talk face to face. How about it? Do you plan to talk to him in person or find Midgard? Giggs asked. While Ryan Giggs admits Leonard is talented and cunning enough, his age is a handicap and Damocles may look down on him or even ignore him. Let Midgard go. Leonard thought for a while and said. Although he is the dominant person, but at this age, no matter how sincere he is, he can't show it. It's better to let Midgard come forward, as long as he listens by the side. By the way, speaking of Midgard, did you lock up your owl recently? She couldn't find your owl and couldn't write to you, so she sent me the message. Ziggs said. Does my owl being locked up have anything to do with her writing to me? Leonard asked blankly. Can't she go to the owl post? Of course, the owl will always appear when the owner needs it. If the owner's friends need to send a letter, they will come to the door as long as they are not too far away. And if someone sends you something, they can also take the initiative to go to the post office. Bring it back to you. Ziggs shook his head helplessly. Midgard can't come to Diagon Alley recently, people from the Ministry of Magic are looking for her. What's up with her? It's nothing, the Ministry of Magic. They always want to deal with the unstable factors. Fenrir couldn't catch them before, and now they want to find Midgard. Ziggs shrugged. That doesn't matter, anyway, they won't go back and overturn Alley looked for someone, but you, remember to let the owl out. Hearing that Midgard was fine, Leonard didn't care, and focused on the owl. He recalled it for a while, and sure enough, he remembered that Gray was a little irritable for a while, probably because he sensed that someone was about to send him a letter. But what does Midgard want from him? What did Midgard say? She didn't say anything in the letter. She just said that she had something to do with you, so that you can find her in the same place. Giggs repeated the content of the message and complained, why are you so mysterious? You should ask her that, not me. Leonard said naturally. No, I'd rather believe that this is what you asked for. Werewolves wouldn't be so vigilant. Giggs underestimated. By the way, are you going to Nocturne Alley? You're asking too much. Leonard rolled his eyes. This sentence is suspected of inquiring about the old place. Ziggs raised his hands in surrender. Okay. It's my fault, I shouldn't ask about it. In short, you should tell Midgard to meet with Damocles as soon as possible. The other party is in a hurry, probably urgently. Money. Are you reminding me that I can lower the price? Leonard asked with a smile. I didn't say that. From an emotional point of view, I don't recommend you to do this. After all, it was a potion master's hard work for nearly 20 years. Ziggs shook his head. You have a good relationship with him. No, I haven't known him for a few days, but I'm also a potion master, and no potion master wants his hard work to be sold cheaply. Giggs said. And from the few days I spent with Damocles, like most potion masters, he is sensitive and arrogant. If you lower the price too hard, you will only offend him, and offending a potion master is not a good thing. This sentence is a bit like the bragging of a potion master, but I believe it, and I will tell Midgard to let her pay attention. Leonard nodded. I'll go first, see you later. Don't rush away. Giggs quickly stopped Leonard. I heard from the guests that Harry Potter is coming, have you seen him? I see, why are you going to ask him for an autograph? Leonard asked helplessly when he heard Harry Potter's hanging eyes. No plan, but do you know Harry Potter? Ziggs looked at Leonard suspiciously. I remember that you don't seem to be from a wizarding family. Thanks to the Savior, I have heard the glorious deeds of the Savior from many people. Leonard said lazily. That's it, don't you think he is great? He eliminated the mysterious man. Giggs looked mysterious. Ziggs, do you really believe that a newborn child can defeat Voldemort? I mean, you know who? Leonard almost blurted out Voldemort's name nonchalantly. Otherwise he would be targeted by Voldemort sooner or later. It's true, no one has ever seen it, but even the greatest wizard Dumbledore said so. Ziggs swore, as if he had been there when Voldemort was killed by Harry Potter. With Dumbledore's endorsement, it's no wonder so many people believe that it was Harry Potter who defeated Voldemort, otherwise normal people would probably wonder what Harry Potter's parents did. However, Dumbledore's behavior was understandable, and the aura of defeating Voldemort would make Harry Potter valued. Just like Giggs, it can be seen that he really respects Harry Potter. Well, think whatever you want, but in my opinion, Harry Potter is just a kid who is not doing well and is in desperate need of warmth. Leonard waved his hand. That's it, I should go, I'll go to Mr. Ollivander's soon. Giggs shrugged. You're busy. A capable person is always a bit busier than others, isn't he? Leonard put on his hood and left the pharmacy after speaking. When Leonard arrived at Ollivander's wand shop, Harry Potter had already left, and Mr. Ollivander was tidying up the mess. This was left when choosing a wand for Harry Potter, or rather, every little wizard who chooses a wand will leave such a mess. Leonard helped Ollivander tidy up the store with a powerful restoration spell, and then began to help Mr. Ollivander with orders for wand maintenance. And Ollivander naturally talked to Leonard about the Savior. A child whose halo is greater than his talent may have a hard time. Ollivander said while handing Leonard a wand that needed maintenance. I don't understand why Albus puts so much pressure on a child. Obviously Mr. Principal has great expectations of him. Leonard carefully repaired the slight damage on the wand with a repair spell. A child, what can he do? Ollivander shook his head. He obviously didn't know about the Savior and Voldemort's prophecy, and he certainly didn't know about Dumbledore's good intentions. And Leonard shouldn't know about this, so he didn't talk to Ollivander, and instead talked to Ollivander about the wand. Does the wand need regular maintenance? Generally not, except for those wizards, duelists, and aurors who often need to fight magic. This is the case. Some are minor damage caused by magic impact, and some are simply smashed due to improper storage. Ollivander said it's still a little pissed off at this point. Maybe I shouldn't have offered maintenance and restoration of wands, it should show them how to cherish their wands. It can be heard that this complaint stems from long-term experience. Mr. Ollivander would not care too much if the damage to the wand was caused by magical impact, but a considerable number of people have damage caused by improper storage. Leonard ignored Ollivander's complaints, handed him the repaired wand and asked curiously, how to repair a damaged wand without a powerful repair spell. Then you need potions and Common's healing spell to come slowly. It's very cumbersome, and it's more troublesome than making a wand. Ollivander took the wand and wrapped it in a box. I really hope you can stay forever, help me. That's not okay, I have to go to school, and I'm not very interested in wand making. Leonard shook his head. I know, so I won't force it, but the process of you using that wand to use the repair spell gave me a lot of inspiration. Maybe one day I can create a wand specially for repairing wands. Ollivander said with a twist. He took out a box from the counter and handed it to Leonard. You have helped me a lot these days, and I have nothing to thank you for, so I bought this for you. You are too polite, Leonard said, taking the box. In fact, I should thank you, you have helped me even more. Haha, we don't need to be so polite anymore, just open it and have a look, Ollivander said with a smile, I think you'll like it. Leonard was a little curious after hearing this, what kind of gift would make him like it so much, according to his thoughts. He opened the box to find a glass bottle filled with spiky, granulated seeds. Bitterthorn seeds. I heard Ziggs said that you have been buying the seeds of magical plants, so I found this magical plant. A magical plant. And it's a bottle full of dozens of magical plant seeds. This is even more gratifying than simply gifting a magical plant. Leonard was overjoyed, and there was a kind of excitement that came without any effort. Thank you very much, Mr. Ollivander, I like this gift very much. Lu Nan expressed his sincere thanks. Although to the well-connected Mr. Ollivander, this bottle of magical plant seeds is nothing, but it is also a gift specially found by others, both in value and intention. It seems that you are very satisfied with this gift, so I am relieved. Ollivander smiled, but quickly restrained his expression and said seriously, Leonard, although you seem to have a very strong affinity for plants, but you also have to be careful, beware of the real dangers of some plants. For example, the venom secreted by plants, like this bitter thorn, will secrete a venom with a strong anesthetic effect, which can even kill small animals. It is more dangerous for muggles. There was once a muggle princess because the finger is stunned for a long time after being pricked by bitter thorns, even if it is a seed, if it is pricked, it will lose a few seconds of memory, be careful, its thorns are very sharp. I'll keep an eye out, Leonard said gratefully. It sounds like the effect of this plant is pretty good, is it venom with a paralyzing effect? I don't know what additional effects it will have after strengthening it. There are at least dozens of seeds in this bottle, and Leonard can slowly experiment with the different effects of different strengthening directions. And maybe I can use these bitter thorns as a fence for my botanical garden. Leonard's eyes lit up slightly, thinking about how to use this plant. Leonard has been worrying about the botanical garden for a long time, whether it is concealment or defensiveness, Leonard is so anxious that he loses his hair. And this kind of plant with paralyzing venom is very good. Even in the Forbidden Forest, it can isolate a piece of pure land for Leonard. However, how to arrange it depends on the performance of the plant after strengthening. After bidding farewell to Ollivander, Leonard returned to the leaky cauldron, intending to go back to his room to try the strengthening effect of bitter thorns, but just as he returned to the bar, he saw Harry Potter and Hagrid sitting in the bar having brunch. Then he also saw a suspicious man wearing a hood and smelling of spices, looking at Harry Potter. Quirinus Quirrell. The moment he saw this man, Leonard recognized the man's identity, because his smell was so iconic. This was the ruthless man who carried Voldemort with him. Leonard subconsciously wanted to avoid the man and turn away, but his experience as a scavenger forced him to stop. Doing so is too deliberate and will be suspected. Leonard kept silent, intending to go straight upstairs and return to his room, but he was stopped by Harry Potter just as he reached the stairs. Leonard. Seeing Leonard, Harry Potter's eyes lit up and he walked over, looking impatient. And Quirinus Quirrell also naturally turned his gaze over. It's not over, is it? Leonard's eyelids twitched, resisting the impolite behavior of leaving directly, and looked at Harry Potter. Hello, Potter. Leonard eyed Quirinus Quirrell out of the corner of his eye, chatting with an excited Potter. Just call me Harry. Harry Potter smiled excitedly. I still can't believe it, but I actually walked into the world of magic. Then he began to talk about what he had seen and heard in Diagon Alley. It wasn't important for Harry Potter to find Leonard, he just wanted to find someone his age to share his joyful emotions with. Leonard patiently listened to Harry Potter rambling about what he had seen and heard in Diagon Alley, which was also mixed with yearning and love for the wizarding world. Listening to what Harry Potter said, Leonard had the illusion of listening to someone else read a perfect composition, which made Leonard a little drowsy. Suddenly, a chill ran across Leonard's spine like a poisonous snake, making his hair stand on end without the slightest sense of sleepiness. This feeling is probably like the feeling of a sniper rifle on the forehead. This is a kind of induction that Leonard has learned in his previous life, and when someone unabashedly releases malice towards him, it will arouse his reaction. Generally speaking, the more terrifying the enemy, the more intense his reaction will be. For example, aiming at him with a sniper rifle and aiming at him with a small pistol are definitely two different feelings. But now his feeling is very strong. Voldemort should be the only one present who can give him this feeling, right? He is looking over here. The feeling came and went quickly, like a casual glance. Leonard looked at Quirinus Quirrell out of the corner of his eye, and found that he was lowering his head, his lips were moving, as if he was whispering something. Master, do I need to use the Imperious Curse to control that boy, so that I should be able to get close to Harry Potter and have a chance to kill Harry Potter easily? Quirinus Quirrell's eyes shone with cruelty. He had been abused a bit recently, and he really wanted to find someone to torture and vent. Stupid, I've said it all. Don't take any action against Harry Potter at this time, it will only increase the possibility of my being exposed. Voldemort's roar came directly into Quirrell's mind, the sound pricking his nerves like a pinprick. Hold, I'm sorry, my master, your ignorant servant didn't understand what you mean. Quirrell lowered his head in pain, his body trembling slightly, and he kept begging for Voldemort's forgiveness. Is that guy Cramp? Leonard looked calmly at Quirrell, who was trembling like he stepped on a switch, and complained in his heart. Fortunately, that sense of danger disappeared, and it seemed that Quirrell or Voldemort had no intention of doing anything to him, a passerby, so he could rest assured for the time being. This made Leonard heave a sigh of relief, and Harry Potter's thoughts were still in his ears when he came back to his senses. Leonard, boy, you can really tell. Leonard took a deep breath, and responded to Harry Potter's words with a smile, trying to appear as a child who was curious about the title, Savior. It wasn't until Harry Potter invited him to eat ice cream at the soda shop in Diagon Alley that he refused him aloud. Sorry, I still have some things to do. Leonard paused. I'm going to practice magic. Practice magic? Harry Potter looked at Leonard ignorantly, his eyes full of clear stupidity not stained by knowledge. Yeah, I'm worried that I will be expelled from Hogwarts if I don't perform well at Hogwarts, so I have to prepare in advance. Seeing Harry Potter's suddenly frightened expression, Leonard almost didn't laugh out loud. Put a little pressure on this savior, find something for him to do, come to chat with him and ask him to hang out if you have nothing to do. Leonard believed that what he said would put a lot of pressure on Harry Potter, leaving him with no time to care about other things. No one is more afraid than Harry Potter of losing the opportunity to enter Hogwarts, which means that he can only enter unreliable private schools under the arrangement of his incompetent uncle and aunt, and become a little fool who achieves nothing. For him, being expelled from Hogwarts was a nightmare that haunted him right up to his entrance. Harry Potter, who looked carefree now, just didn't think of this layer, or was blinded by the magical world of wizards. And Leonard's words were tantamount to putting Harry Potter's worst worries on the table. Although this behavior is somewhat immoral, but who cares? Anyway, Harry Potter couldn't be expelled. As a kid, it's hard to grow up too carefree, and he has to add a little bit of seasoning to his life. Will Hogwarts expel students? Harry Potter asked with a bitter expression. To be honest, I'm not too sure. After all, I'm just a student born in a Muggle family. Why don't you ask the person next to you? Ask him if Hogwarts will expel students. Leonard said seriously. However, it is recommended not to ask too much detail. If you have time, you should practice magic. He won't talk to death. If it is too embarrassing to be exposed, he will use this ambiguous way of speaking to make the other party think wildly and fall into deep self-doubt. As for asking Hagrid is a student expelled from Hogwarts, isn't he the right person to ask? Seeing that Harry Potter was about to ask Hagrid in a daze, Leonard smiled slightly, said goodbye and walked up the stairs. It was foreseeable that Harry Potter, the savior, would be quiet for a while, and during this time Leonard only needed to be careful to avoid Quirrell and Voldemort's sight, and he could do things safely. For example, tonight, he needs to go to Nocturne Alley, meet Midgard, and ask her what she wants for him. But before that, he had to try the effect of bitter thorns. Back in the room, Leonard first wrote a letter to Midgard, telling her that he would go to her tonight and ask her to find someone to pick him up, and then hand it over to Gray to send him away. Then he closed the door and window, took out a flower pot and put it on the ground, and took out a ferocious-looking bitter thorn seed from the bottle. The seeds of bitter thorns are covered with hard thorns, which should feel prickly when pinched in the hands, but Leonard does not have this feeling, as if the seeds consciously do not want to hurt Leonard. This was obviously abnormal. Leonard took a piece of paper and tried it. The sharp thorns on the surface of the seed easily cut the paper. It was really sharp, but when the seed landed on his hand, its spikes seemed to have no effect. Will even the seeds of plants avoid harming themselves? Leonard squeezed the seeds and smiled, activating the talent for optimizing growth. Like biting kale, the moment Leonard activated his talent, 3 pictures corresponding to different strengthening effects appeared in front of Leonard's eyes. In the first picture, a bitter thorn seed was thrown into the soil, and the soil exploded in an instant, green thorns pierced out, and the flexible branches grew and twisted like a greedy giant snake chasing fleeing animals, one after another. They pierce thorns. In just a few seconds, the emerald green branches spread more than 10 meters away. Within this range, without exception, every animal that was stabbed fell into a paralyzed state after a short struggle, and blood dripped down the thorns. Drop by drop the soil seeds. Eventually the animals never woke up again, and remained comatose until they bled to death. And after all the animals died, the thorns that spread over a large area quickly took shape, faded from their green color, and turned into gray hard dead branches, which could not be harmed by fire or by knives. This first picture gave Leonard quite a shock. Judging from the effect, this seems to be a more extreme overspeed growth. Both the burst speed and the death speed are much faster than the overspeed growth of the combat system. The rapidly spreading branches are like sharp spears piercing the prey's flesh. Body. And it still has the powerful paralyzing venom, otherwise those animals wouldn't just lose blood and die without any struggle. As for the dead branches left over, it is meaningless. The traces left over are too distinctive and easy to be found. Super speed growth, chasing and piercing all life within range, this effect is a bit explosive. Leonard sighed and decided to name this enhanced product the Impaler. It's not that he wants to name every strengthened plant, it's just a feeling. This method of chasing prey and piercing it to drain the blood to death is somewhat similar to Vlad III, the ancestor of vampires in Legendary. The second picture is a bitter thorn plant that grows normally. Each of its thorns secretes a transparent and viscous liquid, which evaporates quickly as soon as it is secreted. A wild animal passed by, smelled the evaporated gas, and fell asleep on the spot. As this enhancing the effect of bitterthorn's secretion of liquid, turning it from paralysis into a coma effect. Leonard touched his chin and came to a conclusion. The third picture is very simple and clear. Originally, it just grew quietly in place, and it has acquired the nature of being alive, and will actively wave thorns to catch creatures that approach. It is not very aggressive, it just likes to throw anesthetized creatures in the mud under its feet, and it will not be life-threatening. But if left alone, the hapless creature can only rot in an infinite slumber and become the nourishment of bitter thorns. 3 kinds of strengthening effects, corresponding to surprise attack, assistance and defense, are quite useful, and you can choose different strengthening responses in different environments. Leonard thought for a while, chose the second enhancement effect and used super growth, and then threw the seeds into the flower pot. The moment the seed touches the soil, countless roots spread into the soil, and then a green thorn breaks out of the soil, growing and shaping at a speed visible to the naked eye, growing from a seed to a mature stage in just a few minutes. Soon, drops of viscous transparent liquid were secreted from its spikes. Seeing this, Leonard hurriedly found an empty crystal bottle and took some of the rapidly evaporating liquid. He didn't ignore the ability of this powerful sleep aid, and the plant friend only allowed him to gain the plant's friendship, not to make him invulnerable to all poisons. After all, it is instinct for plants to secrete toxins or harmful substances. They can control themselves not to harm Leonard, but they cannot prevent these substances from harming Leonard. This is also Ollivander's reminder to Leonard. Leonard held his breath, and after filling up 3 crystal bottles, the enhanced bitter thorn tree formed by super speed growth withered and dissipated. Probably because of the collection, it did not even leave a malnourished seed. The only proof that it ever existed was that the 3 vials in Leonard's hand were filled with something that wasn't known to be a liquid or a gas. Volatile gas with a powerful sleeping effect. This thing should come in handy sooner or later. If it doesn't work, I'll sell it to Midgard and see if she needs anything. Leonard shook the crystal bottle and looked at the swirling gas inside. The mixture put it away with satisfaction. This thing is simply a must-have for picking locks and robbing houses. Leonard likes the bitter thorn seeds sent by Ollivander very much. Each of the 3 strengthening effects is very useful. A piercer for raids, a lethargic secretion for door picking, an active stance for the Arboretum's defenses. A single plant took care of most of Leonard's troubles. As long as I pick a hidden place in Hogwarts and plant a circle of bitter thorns, my botanical garden will be stable. Leonard thought excitedly. The only trouble is that you need to go around frequently, lest some unlucky people accidentally enter it and turn it into fertilizer. As night fell, Tom, the bar owner, swung his wand and extinguished most of the kerosene lamps in the bar after the last customer left, leaving only the lights near the counter. This is reserved for guests. After all, the Leaky Cauldron is also a hotel, and there are guests coming to the hotel late at night. It's just that this kind of situation is relatively rare, and Tom dozes off on his elbow more often. Time passed quietly, and the sound of old Tom snoring sounded from the counter. At this moment, a man in a black robe came down the stairs silently, bypassing the bright light at the counter and walking towards the back door of the bar. A pitch-black poisonous snake was wrapped around the man's neck. In the darkness, the poisonous snake swallowed a message, and its eyes shone with a cunning light. Be unsuspecting, without me, this wizarding world would degenerate really quickly. The poisonous snake sighed. Yeah, these ignorant people so quickly forget the fear you brought, what a bunch of waste. Quirinus Quirrell nodded yes, and one person and one snake walked through the tavern from the back door to Diagon Alley. The sound of bricks rubbing against the back door startled the sleeping Tom a little. He opened his eyes in a daze, and just as he was about to stand up, he smelled a faint scent of grass and trees. Tom yawned and shook his head, falling asleep on the counter. Leonard stepped out of the darkness, and tightly covered the drowsy liquid that had evaporated a small amount. This is the Dark Lord. He's really unsuspecting. Leonard shook his head and said contemptuously. He didn't realize that he was staring at them all the time. Although I am also very careful. In order to prevent himself from accidentally bumping into Quirrell and his Dark Lord Master when he was out, Leonard kept quietly watching where Quirrell lived. Probably because this kind of behavior was a bit different from the habits of wizards, not only Quirrell, but even Voldemort didn't notice it. Going out quietly at this time, probably to visit Gringotts. Leonard glanced at the sleeping boss Tom, and then at the back door of the Leaky Cauldron. Gringotts is not such an easy place to grab. If it is the former Dark Lord, needless to say, he can break into it single-handedly. But this is not easy for Quirrell, where not only the magic protection of the goblins, but also the patrolling Aurors to guard against some daredevils. I'm going to avoid it recently. Leonard muttered, put on his hood, and left the Leaky Cauldron along the back door. 10 minutes later, Leonard came to the intersection where he met Midgard last time, and met the taciturn middle-aged werewolf Markarth. Compared with the last time we met, Marcus looked much stronger and his mental state was much better. When he saw Leonard, there was a flash of a smile on his face. Well, maybe that smile was just an illusion of Leonard. Anyway, looking at it again, the werewolf wizard still had a serious face. Under his guidance, Leonard once again came to the courtyard where werewolves gathered, and in the same room, he saw the radiant Midgard. Marcus still stood guard at the door. It seems that you have been doing well recently. Leonard greeted as soon as he entered the door. Thanks to you, it's not bad. Midgard smiled. So what do you want me to do? If you have something urgent, shouldn't you go directly to the owl post office to send a letter? You are still waiting for my owl. Leonard naturally found a chair and sat down on the back of the chair to look at Midgard. Germany. I was recently targeted by people from the Ministry of Magic. Fenrir's death is not a trivial matter. Many people covet Fenrir's door. I dare not go to Diagon Alley recently. Midgard explained. I came here to give you a gift. What? Upon hearing the gift, Leonard regained his spirits, and Ollivander gave him a great gift, and the gift in Midgard would not be bad. A magical plant, but to be honest, I don't know what it is. It is alive, sensitive to magic, and not aggressive. Midgard turned around and took out a small flower pot from the house and placed it on the ground, in front of Leonard. In the flower pot is a slender branch, which looks a bit like a mimosa, with a light blue vein extending along its rhizome to its leaves, which is very mysterious. As soon as the plant appeared, the system gave a prompt. You got a magical plant, Ancient Sprout. You have gained 100 experience points, current level, Intermediate Plant Apprentice 191 500ths. Ancient Sprouts. Just getting 100 experience points. Leonard looked at the plants in front of him in surprise, not knowing what was so special about the so-called ancient shoots. Except for the blue lines on the plant, Leonard didn't find anything magical. Didn't you ask others about the origin of this plant? Where did it come from? Listening to Midgard saying that this plant is not dangerous, Leonard reached out and stroked the leaves of this plant. It is indeed alive, and after sensing Leonard's presence, it actively bends down in Leonard's direction, curling its leaves around Leonard's fingers, like a coquettish puppy. I asked. The wizard who got it said that he found it in a certain ruin, and that ruin had been rummaged long ago, so he found this thing. I also asked Ziggs, and he didn't know. Midgarda shook his head. Anyway, there is no danger, you can play with it. Didn't you say you are very sensitive to magic? What kind of sensitive method? Leonard asked curiously. Oh, this plant will point out the location of someone around when they use magic, and it's quite interesting. Midgard explained. Point out the location of the person using the magic. Leonard was lost in thought. This ability seems to be very useful, but I don't know what effect it will have after strengthening it. Although I was curious about what this plant is, but there was business today, so Leonard put it aside for the time being. Did Giggs have anything to do with your Wolfbane potion? Leonard asked. No, what is Wolfbane potion? Midgard brought a teapot and poured Leonard a glass of water. A potion that keeps werewolves sane on a full moon night, Leonard said. Click, the kettle burst, and the water inside flowed all over the floor. What did you say? Midgard asked word by word. The potion that keeps werewolves sane on a full moon night. Leonard repeated. That kind of thing really exists. Midgard collected the fragments of the kettle with a calm face, but her trembling hands and hands accidentally scratched by the fragments revealed her inner confusion. Well, there is definite news that Ziggs has found the developer of the potion, and coincidentally, the potionist has already planned to sell the potion formula. Leonard glanced at Midgard, which was dripping with blood. He sighed and helped her tidy up together. Don't get your hopes up, Leonard cautioned. I know that maybe the effect of the potion is not that outstanding, or there are serious sequelae. Don't worry, I will be mentally prepared, Midgard said firmly. That's not what I'm talking about, Leonard stared into her eyes. The status of werewolves won't be changed by a bottle of potion. Midgard's expression froze, and he smiled helplessly. You really hit the nail on the head, can't you make me happy for a while? The greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. It would be better for you to pierce your illusions earlier. Leonard threw the teapot fragments aside. The Wolfbane potion has been born for at least 10 years, but even you haven't heard of it. The existence of the potion, let alone have any good effect on the werewolf's situation. In short, the status of werewolf wizards cannot be solved by a Wolfsbane potion, but it can make your life more convenient. I think you can buy the patent of that potion, and you can use the prescription as you like, as long as you give me the patent. Quote. I'm going to see you. It's better for you to do it yourself, Midgard said with a frown. Leonard said helplessly, but I'm just an 11-year-old kid. The other party won't think that I value the other party by going out personally. They will only think that we are making fun of him. It is easy for the other party to turn around and leave. I almost forgot that you were a child. Midgard patted his forehead angrily. It's your fault too, your performance is too mature. Leonard spread his hands innocently and continued, when the time comes, you can act a little tougher, and it's best not to show that you care too much about your subordinates. Although Giggs said that the other party is an honest person, this does not prevent us from psychologically lowering the price. I understand, listen to you, then let Ziggs arrange a time, and meet in the lane. Midgard said. This required Midgard to communicate with Giggs. Leonard did not ask, but asked Midgard to call him during the formal negotiation. He intends to keep the patent of Wolfsbane potion in his own hands. He believes that Midgard will not have any objections, and she does not intend to make money from this prescription. The patent does not restrict her, and anyone with a discerning eye can see that this potion has little prospect. And Leonard wanted the patent only for the possibility of receiving the Order of Merlin. The reason why it is possible to get. In Harry Potter's third year, Damocles Belby finally won the Order of Merlin for his own Wolfsbane potion. But Leonard guessed that the Merlin medal was just a tool to divert attention. Gilderoy Lockhart, a liar who just knows how to exploit, can get a third-class medal of Merlin, but a master of potions who has developed a new potion has only won a third-class medal, which sounds extremely ironic. In fact, Leonard speculates that Damocles Bell would not have even waited for this reward if the Ministry of Magic hadn't diverted attention from Azkaban escaping Sirius Boulika to keep the newspaper headlines, for knowledge, or entertainment, medal. From this, it can be seen that the Ministry of Magic doesn't really care about the Wolfsbane potion, it's just a ZZZQ, a chamber pot that can be taken out at critical moments to divert attention, and will be thrown into the corner if it is useless. Unless someone can create a potion that can truly cure werewolves, or a potion that can completely erase the negative effects of werewolves infecting others, that Mei Linyi first-class metal should not be able to escape. But it will be difficult. Although Leonard has the ability to enhance the efficacy of plants, potions with complex ingredients are not enough to strengthen the effects of raw materials. The more complex the potion, the more attention should be paid to the ratio of materials. But it is undeniable that if there is really a person in this world who can create a potion that can completely cure werewolves, then Leonard, who has the power to strengthen plants, is the most likely candidate. Chapter 41. The next day, early morning. Leonard got up from the bed and yawned. Last night, in order to avoid running into Quirrell, who was going to visit Gringotts, he waited outside for half the night. Staying up all night almost failed to send him, the future flower, away. He's still young, he doesn't want to stay up late and lose his hair. But he still has to get up early. The magical plant he brought from Midgard yesterday hasn't been strengthened yet, a magical plant that is systematically named Ancient Sprout. At this time, the ancient buds placed on the windowsill are twisting their branches in the sun, looking very comfortable. Seemingly noticing Leonard's gaze, this ancient sprout was still shaking its leaves towards Leonard, as if beckoning. This plant exhibits greater intelligence than the common magic plant. For example, although biting cabbage has also shown intimacy, it is more like an instinct, and there is no such advanced expression as greeting. This plant, on the other hand, has a more active expression. It's really special. Leonard stretched out his hand and touched the leaves of the bud. The bud suddenly became excited and swayed like a convulsion. Okay, stop now. Leonard pinched the bud, fearing that the thing would be blown off by the wind and break himself. After the buds calmed down, Leonard activated the optimized growth, intending to see what this magical plant showed in terms of strengthening. But when Leonard used the enhanced ability, he was surprised to find that this mysterious plant only had an enhanced image. Blue's veins turned into silver veins, and at the same time, the shoots that took root in the soil broke away from the soil, and grew transparent roots with illusory brilliance. These roots were wrapped around a figure, and silver light flowed from the roots. It seems to be exchanging some kind of mysterious energy with the figure. This seems to be saying that there is only one way for this kind of plant to be strengthened, and that is to become a special symbiosis that depends on others. The picture didn't end here. I saw the figure raised his wand, and the sky was suddenly covered with dark clouds, and violent thunder and lightning fell from the sky, smashing the rocks and igniting the trees, as if the sky rained down anger to destroy the earth. When the magic ended, the wizard didn't feel any discomfort. Instead, the buds that were originally full of silver light became dim, and the branches that were originally stunned and looked energetic also became sluggish. Immediately afterwards, there were scenes of various magic hitting the figure. The ancient shoots glowing with silver light grew branches close to the figure, which looked like a set of tight-fitting armor. Those magics fell on the plant armor. They lost most of their power one after another, and only a little power was applied to the figure, causing him to shake slightly. The ancient sprouts that had endured a lot of magic were only slightly dimmed, and soon returned to their original state under the exchange of silver light between the roots and the host. Leonard looked at the picture and fell into deep thought. From what is shown in the picture, after the growth enhancement is carried out, the plant will become a symbiosis attached to the wizard, and it seems that it can exchange energy with the host. It can help cast magic, and can also passively block magic attacks. It's just that the terrifying thunderstorm released by the wizard waved in the picture is a bit strange. Leonard, who has learned a lot of magic, feels that that kind of magic seems to be very different from the magic he learned. It's not the difference between different spells. For example, it's like cooking. The magic that Leonard is learning now is different dishes of the same cuisine. Although the taste is different, the style is similar. However, the magic in the picture has a strong style difference from the magic learned by Leonard. Compared with the exquisiteness of the current magic, it reflects a kind of roughness and mystery. So does this picture mean that after forming a symbiosis with this plant, you will learn a certain kind of special magic? Or does it simply mean that the symbiotic plant will become an additional reserve of magic power to increase the power of the spell? Leonard put forward his own conjecture, but unfortunately no one could answer him. The only one who might know something was a plant twisting and twisting in the sunlight. Want to try it out? Leonard hesitated. After trying, all problems can be solved, but the problem is that there is always a feeling of symbiosis with a plant of unknown origin that makes Leonard's heart shudder. Although there were no sequelae in the picture given by the system, even after consuming a lot of mana, it was only the ancient sprout that was wilting. On the contrary, the wizard did not feel any discomfort, and this plant could also protect the host from magic damage. From this point of view, accepting symbiosis is a matter of great benefit and no harm. Moreover, Leonard's own talent, Friends of Plants, can obtain the friendship of plants, ensuring that he will not be actively attacked by any plants. Even if he has a symbiotic relationship with plants, there will be no harm. It's worth trying. Leonard quickly made up his mind. A symbiotic plant with both offense and defense was worth his gamble. The surging life force injected into the body of the ancient bud, and the branches and leaves of the ancient bud stretched in an instant, and the veins of blue flickered like breathing. As the strengthening progressed, the silver light gradually replaced blue's veins, and a strange force uprooted the plant. In midair, the plant gradually transformed from a physical body to an energy body. The gradually extending transparent roots entwined towards Leonard's body. Almost instantly, the two completed the symbiosis. The ancient buds were completely attached to Leonard's back, and a silvery leaf was still on Leonard's face. The side scratched affectionately. Afterwards, the ancient buds gradually became transparent, and finally disappeared before Leonard's eyes, but Leonard could still clearly feel the ancient buds that coexisted with him. It wasn't a parasite on the flesh. Leonard didn't feel any strange roots stuck into his body, it was a kind of magical exchange. With the establishment of the symbiotic relationship, a surging and special magic power circulated in Leonard's body. This magic power not only made Leonard's own power more pure, but also made his body stronger. This was a pleasant surprise. Leonard, who had already set an exercise plan for himself, was a little surprised. Judging from his physical feedback, his current physical fitness is already better than the results of his first stage exercise plan. This means that he can go directly to the second stage of training. But this is not the point is the fragments of information transmitted from the ancient buds at the moment when the symbiosis is completed. Those bits of information that seemed to be some kind of special magic, but were too fragmented to be discernible at all. It's a pity. Leonard was a little regretful, and his intuition told him that it was likely to be the ancient and special magical information in the enhanced screen. Broken information meant he couldn't learn. You used talent, optimized growth, increased target maturity, and produced beneficial host mutations. Ancient buds. Magical plants hosting ancient magic, mutation direction, symbiosis, magic vision, magic power enhancement, magic defense. You have gained 100 experience points and are currently an intermediate plant apprentice 291 500ths. The system prompts followed, more intuitively reflecting the abilities and characteristics of the ancient sprouts. It seems that this plant has a lot of background. Leonard frowned as he watched the words ancient magic. He had never heard of such things as ancient magic, which was very unusual for a time traveler who had watched a full set of Harry Potter and the Harry Potter series of movies. Something very ancient, even comparable to the Deathly Hallows. Leonard concluded, leaving the so-called ancient magic behind. Who made the magic knowledge provided by the ancient sprouts so fragmentary that they couldn't even piece together a complete magic, which made Leonard even have no chance to admire the ancient magic. It's better to feel the other abilities of the ancient shoots after symbiosis. Needless to say more about magic power enhancement and magic defense, I have basically understood from the enhancement screen, only the magic vision is left. This should be the original power of the ancient sprouts, which can sense the traces of spellcasting and point out the location of the caster. After strengthening, it seems to become a shared magical vision. I just don't know what the effect is after strengthening. Leonard tried to communicate with the ancient sprouts, and after feeling a burst of joy, a vision beyond vision emerged in his mind. This field of vision is composed of color blocks of different sizes and colors. Substances without magic power are cold gray, while active magic power is a variety of bright colors. The view didn't seem to be blocked. Leonard looked around and could see the enchanted kitchen utensils in the bar kitchen cooking food. There are traces of magic color blocks on those kitchen utensils. And the presence of wizards with their own magic power is more obvious in the field of vision. Leonard's eyes looked around curiously. He saw Harry Potter, who was clumsily practicing magic next door. He was practicing luminescence, and every time he swung his wand, bright colors poured down his arm and sprayed from the tip of the wand. It's a pity that it didn't condense into magic. Leonard looked around again, and quickly saw the incongruous colors. It was another room on the same floor, and Leonard identified it as Quirrell's room. Quirrell is also a human-shaped color block with magical colors. Knowledge is different from the bright colors of common wizards, and his body color is gray. There is also a long dark ribbon beside him, that is not black, but a void representing nothingness. Looking at the swirling ribbon, Leonard realized that it was most likely Voldemort. At this moment in Quirrell's room, Voldemort, who was swimming and thinking about how to break into Gringotts next, suddenly felt uneasy. It was as if something was watching him, the feeling was very close, and the eyes were quite sharp, piercing him like a knife, dissecting his own structure bit by bit. He stood up, hesitating the bright red letter, and looked around with cruel snake eyes. Everything around is normal, only the stupid Quirrell is curled up on the bed and suffering from the curse. But where did this gaze come from? That kind of ancient gaze that seems to carry a heavy historical atmosphere and should have been buried in the cemetery. Voldemort's performance without the slightest deviation completely fell into Leonard's eyes. Is this the magic field of vision? It's really convenient, all traces of magic within the field of vision can't be hidden. Leonard looked playfully at the crazy Voldemort in the room and showed a mischievous smile. A wizard of Voldemort's level could feel the gaze of a magical vision, and Dumbledore could probably do the same by analogy. Leonard quickly turned off his magic vision, and stopped provoking Voldemort so as not to annoy him. Dogs who are in a hurry can jump over walls, and if Voldemort is in a hurry, maybe he will open the killing ring and kill a group of people. The moment Leonard closed his magic vision, Voldemort suddenly relaxed, and he felt the terrifying vision with ancient power disappear. What exactly is that? Voldemort felt a little uneasy, and seeing Quirrell, who was still moaning under the torture of the curse, was even more angry. Get up! With a roar, Quirrell was thrown from the bed by the surging magic power, and fell heavily to the ground. Quirrell was stunned by the fall, and after he realized it, his heart was filled with deep sorrow and grievance. It took him 8 lifetimes of bad luck to meet such a boss who controlled his life and death. Apart from torturing him with curses and ordering him every day, he abused him. Can this day pass? But Quirrell doesn't want to die yet, so even though his back is sore now, he still has to bow respectfully to the poisonous snake on the ground. Please calm down, my master, what instructions do you have? Quirrell asked cautiously. It's not safe here, someone seems to be paying attention here. Let's leave as soon as possible, and the attack on Gringotts is on the agenda. Voldemort jumped onto Quirrell's body. Get out of here immediately. Yes, my master. Although he was full of doubts in his heart, Quirrell didn't dare to show the slightest expression. He packed his luggage quickly and left the room with Voldemort. At this time, Leonard was standing at the door of the room, with his ear on the door, listening quietly to the movement from the corridor. The magic vision just now obviously alarmed Voldemort. According to Leonard's inference, there are only 2 possible ways for Voldemort to behave at this time, either immediately start looking for the existence that is watching him, or leave here immediately. Combining Voldemort's actual situation and his performance under the magic vision, Leonard felt that the second possibility was more likely, so he kept paying attention to the movement outside the door, and sure enough, he heard the door of Quirrell's room rattling, followed by moving heavy objects. The voice passed by the door. Leonard listened silently to the footsteps, and waited until the footsteps reached the stairs before opening the door and poking his head out. Sure enough, he saw Quirrell flashing past the stairs carrying the suitcase. Sure enough, I was scared away. Leonard let out a long sigh of relief, then turned his head and closed the door. With one less friend, who went shopping at night, Leonard felt that going out during this period of time would be easier. It's a pleasant surprise. I didn't expect the effect of this magic vision to be so powerful. But Voldemort's list is too small. Quirrell's performance is almost like running away. Leonard rubbed his chin with some doubts. If Leonard feels the eyes of others, his first reaction is to find out the other party. Even if he is not in a good state, he must set up a trap to hide the other party. Isn't this gesture of running away in a hurry revealing his weakness? This will instead lead to the pursuit of spies. Thinking of this, Leonard froze for a moment, his eyes serious. Could this be Voldemort's idea? to lure out those who were spying on him and kill him quietly. Leonard fell into groundless speculation, and the more he thought about it, the more likely it was. Little did he know that the staring power of the magic vision had a heavy ancient magical aura, which made Voldemort think that some terrible existence was staring at him, so he panicked and planned to escape. Voldemort didn't mean to set a trap at all. The main reason was that he was okay with bullying Quirrell now, but it wasn't enough to deal with an old and experienced old wizard. The current him is not the Dark Lord who shocked the situation back then, but just a remnant soul huddled in the body of a poisonous snake. This was a harmless misunderstanding. The only effect was to make Leonard more wary of Voldemort and plant a seed in his heart. Absolutely don't play tricks with such a powerful dark wizard, and don't take chances. What you want is to crush him with majestic strength. Leonard was firm in his heart, and he longed for his own botanical garden even more. With a healthy and well-circulated botanical garden, he can have a steady stream of magical plants, so that he will not be afraid whether it is a one-on-one or a group fight. So what if there are many others? As long as he had enough seeds, it would be no problem to cast beans into soldiers. A bunch of seeds would be thrown out, and a group of strengthened deadly magical plants would stand up. With such power, what if there is an ambush on the opposite side? Isn't it easy to crush? Late at night, in a house at the junction of Lane and Diagon Alley, Leonard and Midgard, dressed in robes and hoods, sat at a long table. "You're really careful. You don't forget to put on your hood wherever you go." Midgard looked at Leonard curiously. "You're not too hot in this weather?" "Just in case. Diagon Alley is not very safe recently. Wearing a hood will not attract attention, even if you are seen," Leonard said in a deep voice. "Today is the day to discuss the patent price of Wolfsbane potion with Damocles' Bell." In order to show importance, he and Midgard rushed over early and waited here. However, he wore a robe to cover up the symbiotic ancient shoots on his body, but it seemed that he was too worried. No one noticed the silver plant on his body, as if it didn't exist. That's right, even if others see a person who is 1.5 meters tall and wearing a linen robe walk into the alley, they will only think it is a dwarf wizard, and they will not think it is a child who is only 11 years old. Midgard said with a smile. She looked Leonard over and asked, "Have you grown taller recently?" "Isn't it normal for me to be tall at my age?" Leonard said calmly. He has indeed grown taller. After the symbiosis of the ancient shoots, his physical fitness has increased a lot, and it is still improving steadily. The bone development is also accelerating during this process. Growing taller is inevitable. That's not such an exaggeration, is it? We haven't seen each other for a few days, Midgard muttered, and suddenly she raised her head to look at the door. There was a conversation between Marcus and Giggs outside the door, and it seemed that tonight's guests had finally arrived. Leonard noticed that Midgard's mood was a bit unnatural. His fingers frequently tapped the tabletop, his legs were shaking uncontrollably, and he looked very nervous. This can't be done. As the leader of a werewolf wizard, even if the other party has something he desperately needs, he can't behave so badly. Isn't this telling the other party to come and kill himself? Leonard sighed. Watching Midgard's face full of urgency, he became playful, and stretched out his hand to stroke Brown's hair amidst Midgard's stunned expression. "Calm down," Leonard said. "As we discussed in advance, there will be no problem. The hair is a bit stiff and doesn't feel smooth at all." Leonard complained silently in his heart. He can be regarded as touching the werewolf. Although the hand feeling is not very good, he is still very satisfied psychologically. It's just that this kind of behavior feels like the elders are appeasing the younger ones. Midgard froze for a moment with a surprised expression on his face. Midgard didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and was about to stretch out his hand to rub it back, just as the door was pushed open, and Ziggs in a black robe walked in with a man in tight clothes. This should be Damocles' Bell, the inventor of Wolfsbane potion. Seeing the guests coming, it would be too much to mess around at this time. Midgard could only suppress the thought of rubbing Leonard's head, and looked at the visitor. Thanks to Leonard's gag-like comfort, Midgard's mood is much calmer now. "Welcome both of you, please sit down," Midgard said in a deep voice, showing the behavior that a werewolf leader should have. This appearance instantly stunned Giggs and Damocles' Bell, and the two sat down and sat upright. "This is Mr. Belby, right? Nice to meet you. I am the leader of the werewolf wizards, Midgard Greyberg." Midgard's voice was low, and people couldn't help but listen carefully. Generally speaking, the higher the status of the person, the lower the voice, the more people can't help but listen carefully. Of course, the premise is to correctly assess their status, otherwise they are likely to be slapped and asked, did the vocal cords fall into the house? Midgard will not be wronged by this. As a werewolf wizard leader, she is dangerous enough to make others dare not act rashly. Coupled with the majestic voice that Midgard has specially learned, no one will be troubled by it, provoking her. Even if there was, it wouldn't be the unkempt potions master in front of him. It's an honor to meet you, Ms. Greiberg. Damocles Bell took off his hood and said cautiously, I heard that you want to buy my patent for Wolfsbane potion. That's right, that thing is still useful to me. My wolf cubs lose their brains one day a month and make a mess of all the losses. This affects my rule. Midgard remained expressionless, said. Leonard quietly gave a thumbs up and sent a compliment to Midgard. This is what Leonard and Midgard discussed in advance. This world is very strange. People are more demanding on good people, but they always give way to bad people again and again. Therefore, during the negotiation process, Damocles Bell must not be allowed to feel that the werewolf wizard opposite him seems to be a good person, which will make him feel unnecessary thoughts. The really correct way is to use fear to lower other people's psychological expectations like Fenrir did. No matter how good Midgard is to his subordinates, he must show a kind of indifference and harshness at this time, so as to facilitate the subsequent price reduction. This worked, and Mr. Damocles Bell became a little disturbed. The atmosphere in the room was dull, and even Ziggs was a little uneasy. He looked at Leonard sitting next to Midgard, trying to get a hint, but Leonard didn't even look at him. Be serious, this is business, don't wink. Leonard curled his lips, his eyes hidden under the hood unscrupulously looked at Damocles Belby. Damocles Belby was actually an up-and-coming potions master, who was the favorite student of Slughorn, the then professor of potions, while studying at Hogwarts. However, he put a lot of energy on the Wolfsbane potion, which is destined to have no future and money, and wasted decades the research and development of the Wolfsbane potion plus the time when Damocles tried to promote the Wolfsbane potion. Time has worn away Damocles' vigor, and the promotion of Wolfsbane has smoothed out his edges and corners. These experiences have pierced Damocles' self-esteem as a genius like needles, and made his character worse. Before, it was easy to be influenced by the outside world. So there is no problem with Leonard's plan. As long as you don't touch this honest man's rebellious scales and arouse the other party's rebellious psychology, this time the Wolfsbane acquisition plan should save a lot of money. Tell me your price. If you can, I'll buy it. Midgard knocked on the table, motioning for Damocles Bell to make an offer. Reducing unnecessary greetings, going straight to the point, and cooperating with preconceived cognitions made Damocles Bell dare not hesitate, reducing the time for the other party to think. Offer. Damocles Bell hesitated for a moment. Hurry up, I don't have that much time to waste with you. Midgard said with a cold face. The oppressive force of Midgard was too influential for a wizard who seldom communicated with outsiders and was obsessed with research. Damocles Belby had cold sweat on his forehead and through a he looked for help, but only got a helpless response. Damocles gritted his teeth, lowered his psychological price by 30% and said, 700 galleons. After telling the price, Damocles seemed worried that Midgard would be too expensive and quickly said, this is a very fair price. I have spent decades developing this potion, and the consumption of materials alone is worth it. At this price. But people only care about the effect of the finished product, not the process. The process is the experience you gain, not the cost of others. Midgard still plays the image of a mean leader. We haven't seen the effect of Wolfsbane potion yet. To be honest, we took a lot of risk. The Wolfsbane potion is absolutely effective, I guarantee it. Damocles said anxiously, this price is already the lowest price, and I can't lower it any further. He was very emotional, and Leonard, who was watching him from the side, noticed this, and tugged at the corner of Midgard's clothes to signal her to put it away as soon as it was good. Midgard understood, and nodded calmly. Don't be nervous, Mr. Bell, I'm not saying that the price is inappropriate. Midgard said, 700 galleons is no problem, but we need the patent of Wolfsbane potion. Patent? What do you want that for? Restricting patents will only keep the price of Wolfsbane potion high, which is not good for you. Damocles asked suspiciously. There is no benefit for us if there is no restriction on patents. As far as I know, your wolfbane potion is very expensive and difficult to brew. To be honest, if it is not to appease my wolf cubs, I am not even willing to pay the money. Midgard lowered the value of wolfsbane potion again and said, 900 galleons, the prescription patent belongs to us, but you need to keep it a secret. Remember, wolfsbane potion has nothing to do with you from now on. Damocles opened his mouth, but in the end he only showed a bitter smile. Okay, I've sold it. What qualifications do I have to claim anything to do with it? Deal, 900 galleons, I'll bring the patent documents to Tojig's later. Very good. By the way, remember to write me the detailed formula of wolfsbane potion. Remember, I want to be detailed, every step of the trick must be recorded on it. Midgard stood up, more than 2 meters tall, the body shape is full of oppression. Pleasant cooperation, Mr. Belby. Midgard said, holding out his hand. Cooperation, pleasure. Damocles smiled wryly and shook hands with Midgard, his body shaking with Midgard's shaking hands up and down. At only 1.7 meters, he was as fragile as a doll in front of Midgard. After the negotiation was over, Giggs took a look at Leonard and left with Damocles. After confirming that the two had left, Leonard took off the hood on his head. You're doing well. Leonard looked at Midgard with a smile, it has a bit of Fenrir's temperament. Midgard breathed a sigh of relief at this time, completely lost the aggressiveness just now. Stop talking, those words just made me feel sick. Although it's disgusting, it's very useful. A smiling face is enough internally, but you still need to use your fangs to warn others externally, Leonard said. It's not good, it will only increase other people's misunderstanding of werewolves. Bell is better than Mr. At least he is really for the werewolf group. Midgard was a little uneasy. It's a bit too much for us to calculate him. Excessive. Think about your subordinates. It is difficult for werewolf wizards to make money from wizards. Let me ask, how much money do you have now? Leonard asked. Midgard shook his head helplessly. There isn't much left. Most of Fenrir's bounties and deposits are used to subsidize the oppressed werewolves. They have no jobs, and if they don't have relief, they can only steal and rob. 900 galleons have nearly drained our coffers. Leonard was a little surprised when he heard this. I remember that Fenrir's bounty adds up to 2,000 or 3,000, right? And his deposit. It's not enough to make ends meet, after all. If the werewolf wizard doesn't steal it, it's hard to make money, and he has to spend most of the galleons to buy healing potions to repair the damage caused by the full moon night. Midgard sighed and his face was full, exhausted. It's so miserable. Then I won't charge you for the white fresh essence in the future. Leonard said. No need, it's just a drag on you when you can't make ends meet. Midgard shook his head and rejected Leonard's kindness. Sometimes I can't wait to rob Gringotts. Rob Gringotts. In an instant, an idea flashed through Leonard's mind like lightning. Why not? Leonard blurted out. Be sober. Midgard laughed dumbfoundedly. That's Gringotts, a place where goblins are strictly guarded. Fenrir coveted it for so long and dared not say that he would rob Gringotts. It's like an army. Gringotts is the bank of the wizarding world, and robbing Gringotts is robbing the bank. Unlike Muggle banks, wizarding world banks are much more dangerous. That is the territory of goblins, and goblins have always regarded wealth as their life, so they are professional in keeping property. And it's not good to rob Gringotts. The galleons who stole their golden curries belong to the wizards who opened the treasury, and have nothing to do with those goblins. Midgard tried to dispel Leonard's idea. Kill them. Then you were wrong, I still know about fairies. These greedy guys always think that the things they make belong to fairies. They don't care about the circulation of currency. Even if Gallon has changed hands dozens of times, they still think that Gallon it's yours. Leonard said, we can find those vaults that have no heirs. Anyway, those galleons are a waste to put there. I think there should be many such abandoned vaults in Gringotts, right? You are lying, Midgard couldn't help saying, and don't forget, Gringotts is the safest bank, and there have been many malicious wizards attacking there, but without exception, they were all thrown into Azkaban. I know it's dangerous there, and there are the strictest precautions there. Leonard indicated that he was not crazy and knew the danger there, but what if someone helped us clear the dangerous security of Gringotts? Impossible, Midgard retorted subconsciously, and suddenly she thought of some possibility. What news did you get? Someone was going to raid Gringotts looking for something, and it was just around the corner, Leonard said. Voldemort couldn't take it for long, especially when he realized someone was watching him. Faced with such a situation, Voldemort had only two choices: either give up attacking Gringotts, give up the Philosopher's Stone and find a place to hide. Or put all your eggs in one basket and get the Philosopher's Stone to restore yourself to his prime as soon as possible. Voldemort couldn't give up this opportunity, he couldn't afford to wait, but he was also worried that his plan would be discovered by the person who was after him. So he is likely to act early. I don't know the specific time of the other party's actions, but just recently, you can find someone to watch this person secretly. Be careful, don't be discovered, this person is very dangerous and sensitive, if you get too close, it is easy be found. Leonard couldn't say that there was a Voldemort in a snake tied to Keluo's body. If Voldemort found out, the plan would be over. Relying on the sketching experience he had learned over the years of doing bounties, Leonard drew Quirrell's face and handed it to Midgard so that her men could find it easily. You don't need to remind me. A lunatic who dares to attack Gringotts is definitely not a good guy. I will tell the wolf cubs to be careful. Midgard looked at the man in the portrait with a strange expression. The person in the portrait has an honest face and looks quite young. He doesn't look like a lunatic who would attack Gringotts. But she believed Leonard's words, he was not the type to make such jokes. Midgard called Marcus at the door, handed him the portrait and gave him a few words of advice. After seeing Marcus leave, he looked at Leonard. I didn't expect you to be able to draw. This is a relatively important little method. It can accurately convey information without errors or omissions. Leonard glanced at Midgard. I suggest that your subordinates learn it too. It will be very beneficial. I will find a few talented people to practice, but I don't expect too much. Many of them are more familiar with wolf claws than their own hands. Midgard sighed. The future of werewolf wizards is really dark. Sometimes I think about Fenrir. Maybe his idea is right. He encourages to turn every wizard into a werewolf, thinking that this will completely eliminate the discrimination of wizards against werewolves. Midgard said quietly. Don't dream, the only consequence of doing this is being surrounded and killed by wizards, and Dumbledore will definitely attack at that time. Do you think the werewolf can stop him? Leonard shook his head. Then what do you think is a good way? My big brother once took refuge in the Mysterious Man, because the Mysterious Man promised to give the werewolf enough status. Midgard asked. I don't know much about the Mysterious Man, but looking at the current status of werewolves, and the Death Eaters who are imprisoned in Azkaban, even the werewolf wizards are not ranked in the punishment. What do you expect the Mysterious Man to give to the werewolf? Status. I guess the Mysterious Man just needs the reputation of a werewolf to scare people. Leonard said casually. If werewolves really became the aid of the Death Eaters, the living environment of werewolves would become even worse today when Voldemort fell. Moreover, a group of poor werewolves who couldn't pay the ransom would probably be imprisoned in Azkaban, but there were no werewolves in Azkaban, and even the leader Fenrir was not imprisoned. You must know that at that time, many Death Eaters were caught and bit each other, wanting to confess more accomplices to alleviate their guilt. It is ridiculous that no one confessed Fenrir even in this situation. It wasn't that their relationship was so good that they could live and die, but that the Death Eaters didn't think of this person at all. This sounds extremely ironic. Fenrir calls himself a Death Eater, but even when the Death Eater is a traitor, he is not involved. One can imagine how low his status is. Human Death Eaters don't even bother to take them with them. Seeing Leonard talking eloquently, Midgard froze for a few seconds, then suddenly threw his arms around Leonard's head and rubbed it. You are such a stinky fart, you are not big or small, you dared to rub my head just now. Midgard grinned grinningly and messed up Leonard's hair, and then let go of Leonard in a good mood. Leonard rolled his eyes and straightened his hair. You are really narrow-minded. Long memory, the head of a werewolf is not easy to touch. Midgard said with a snort. In the early morning, Leonard, who was out late and returned early, returned to the leaky cauldron with a yawn, planning to go back to his room to catch up on sleep. Originally thought that after Voldemort escaped, he could go out at night without worrying about bumping into Voldemort and he could go back to sleep early, but he didn't expect that it was even worse today, and he stayed in the alley all night. No way. Midgard asked someone to look for Quirrell's trace overnight, and discussed various details of the robbery of Gringotts along the way. Naturally, he, the instigator, could not leave. As a result, they negotiated all night, and Leonard didn't leave until the next day was bright. Fortunately, the symbiosis of ancient shoots improved Leonard's physical fitness, otherwise he might not be able to hold on. After a simple breakfast, Leonard returned to his room, hung a "Do Not Disturb" note on his door, closed the door and fell asleep on the bed until he was awakened by a rapid knock on the door. "Who? You are so devoid of public morality, disturbing your dreams." Leonard, who was soundly asleep, raised his head and glanced at the pocket watch by the bedside. "It's 10:40. Leonard tilted his head, smoothed his curled hair and got up from the bed. There was only one person knocking on his door at the Leaky Cauldron at this time. Leonard opened the door, and saw the excited Harry Potter at a glance. "That's right, it's the protagonist of The Savior. Leonard, I have learned magic," Harry Potter said excitedly with his eyes shining. But soon he noticed that Leonard was not in a good state, and he seemed sleepy. "Ah, sorry, did I interrupt your rest?" Harry Potter scratched his head sheepishly. "I thought you were already up by this hour." "That's right, I did wake up normally, but I forgot the time to practice magic last night. I practiced too late." Leonard yawned with a casual expression. "Oh, you learned your first magic." "Yes, what?" "It's the luminescence curse. I'm still progressing, right?" Harry Potter looked hopeful for a compliment. "I don't know how your progress is. You also know that I come from a Muggle family. You have no one to tell me what kind of progress is considered qualified." Leonard said seriously, "But it only took me 10 minutes to learn the luminescent charm." Harry Potter's small face froze. 10 minutes. Looking at the savior who doubted his life, Leonard nodded with a sense of well-being. "Yeah, 10 minutes, I think you have to work harder. After all, the early bird catches the worm." Leonard put pressure on the savior in a serious manner. Anyway, before he got in touch with other little wizards, Harry Potter would never know how long it would take to learn a normal spell. Especially if there is no teacher to teach. Harry Potter's disappointed expression didn't last long. "It seems that my talent is not very good." Harry Potter's eyes were firm. "But I will not give up. I must not be expelled from Hogwarts." "Well said, very energetic." Leonard gave a thumbs up. "Come on. Thank you for your encouragement." Harry Potter thanked Leonard, turned around resolutely and planned to go back to his room to continue practicing magic. Seeing the back of Harry Potter leaving, Leonard smiled with satisfaction. In this way, the savior will not bother him for a few days. The plan works. Although this may add a little haze to the young mind of the savior, Leonard is also doing it for Harry Potter. Let him develop good habits, so as not to learn from Ron Weasley in the future. This is a great thing of great merit, and Dumbledore will give Leonard a thumbs up when he knows it. After dealing with the savior to doubt his life, Leonard fell back on the bed and got a full sleep. He didn't get up slowly from the bed until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and went downstairs to order a sumptuous dinner. He still has more than 400 galleons on him now, so he can live comfortably without worrying about running out of money. It's just that the day and night are reversed, which makes Leonard feel a little uncomfortable. "Hey, let's start school as soon as possible, otherwise I'm going to worry about my sudden death." Leonard yawned and left the Leaky Cauldron for Diagon Alley. It wasn't long before school started, and Ollivander's wand shop didn't need him to go there every day. If necessary, Mr. Ollivander would write a letter to invite Leonard to go there. He planned to go to Ziggs's pharmacy to tell Ziggs about his progress. Seeing that the full moon is coming, the most important thing is to get the formula of Wolf's poison as soon as possible. When he came to Giggs' pharmacy, Giggs was still calculating his unclear accounts, and saw Leonard coming over with a displeased expression on his face. "You guys are so majestic," Ziggs complained. "After Damocles came back, he asked me why the target of the transaction was different from what I had agreed upon. I also wondered how the friendly Midgard became Fenrir has gone all the way. You said that Bell is a persistent potion master, we just used a little trick." Leonard didn't mean to hide. After all, Ziggs knew Midgard and knew how Midgard was. Such a person, that little trick can't fool him. "But you have damaged my reputation. I'm sure Damocles will go around saying that I know the dangerous people in the alley." Ziggs sighed. "This is a good thing. I believe many people are willing to buy some Nocturne Alley specialties from your road." Leonard had a surprised expression. "Congratulations. Bah, this will only make me be targeted by the horrors of the Ministry of Magic, Ziggs said dissatisfiedly. I have lost a lot this time. Tell me, how much will it take to make up for your loss? Leonard asked with a sigh. Gigston, who was originally filled with righteous indignation, suddenly smiled. 10 bottles of white fresh essence, I will provide the ingredients, how about it? Giggs said with a smile. 10 bottles is too much, 5 bottles. 8 bottles. 6 bottles. Deal. Giggs happily took out a package of materials from the counter and put it on Leonard's topcoat. Leonard took the package and rolled his eyes and asked, how much did you get for introducing Midgard this time? 5 galleons. Ziggs didn't hide it. This is the market price. The introducer used my reputation as a guarantee for the werewolf in Nocturne Alley, which is not much. Since you have received the money, hurry up and deal with it. Werewolf wizards need wolfbane potion. Leonard knocked on the counter. Don't waste your time. I am very reliable in my work. I will send the formula and patent documents of wolfsbane potion to Midgard within 2 days at most, Ziggs promised. That's best. Leonard nodded, glanced in the direction of Gringotts, then turned and walked in the direction of the leaky cauldron. 3 days later, the leaky cauldron. In Leonard's room, a cauldron was bubbling. With the tumbling of the bubbles, the color of the soup inside is also constantly changing, from green to purple, and finally to black, and the cycle repeats. Leonard stared at the changes in the cauldron with a serious expression. From his cuff, a silvery shoot poked out his head, like a curious child staring at the changes in the cauldron. These days Leonard has been brewing up potions, from quintessence to vitality tonic. After the formula of wolfsbane potion sent by Midgard yesterday, Leonard began to try to brew wolfsbane potion again. Midgard will naturally find a trustworthy potionist to brew wolfbane potion. There is no need to worry about someone stealing the patent. Midgard has already obtained the patent document of Damocles Belby. In a few days, the patent will belong to Leonard. It's just that Leonard can't relax. Although Damocles Belby promised not to disclose any relationship between him and wolfsbane, as a patent holder, Leonard must not be able to cook the potion, right? Isn't that nonsense? However, brewing wolfsbane potion was more difficult than Leonard thought. He started to buy materials to try as soon as he got the formula, and the raw materials that cost a full 50 galleons were almost exhausted by now. As a result, not a single bottle of wolf's poison was brewed. This time is the closest to success, and it's time to finish brewing the potion. As long as he doesn't make any mistakes, he can brew the wolf's poison potion. The quality cannot be guaranteed, but at least it is a non-toxic potion with the effect of wolfsbane potion. After the color in the crucible changed 7 times, Leonard moved, and threw the potion ingredients that had been processed on the table into it one by one. The color of the soup in the crucible still has a tendency to change, but on the eve of each change, a potion material is mixed into it to stop the change. Finally, when all the ingredients were put in, the soup in the crucible turned dark red, like mellow red wine. It's a pity that this red wine is mixed with a lot of black flocks. Leonard frowned, extinguished the flame under the cauldron, and stirred it with a spoon. Black's flocks are very stubborn and cannot be dissolved no matter how much you stir. Successful, but not enough. Is there still a problem with the timing of putting in the ingredients? Leonard sighed and bottled the potion in the crucible. 3 bottles of medicine were boiled out of 1 pot of medicine. Judging from the color of the finished product, it should be a success, but the color is not good, and it is estimated that there will be adverse reactions that are difficult to ignore after drinking it. Oh, it's so annoying. Leonard rubbed his aching eyes, staring at the color-changing potion for so long that his eyes were blurred. It doesn't matter, let's do it for now. Where did Leonard come to pack the 3 bottles of wolfsbane potion and send them to Midgard? At this moment, the sprout protruding from Leonard's cuff stopped Leonard's behavior. Leonard looked at Nauya suspiciously, and just when he was wondering what this mysterious plant was going to do, he felt his cuff being pulled, and Nauya pointed at the remaining materials on the table. You don't want to say that you can brew wolfbane potion, do you? Leonard said amusedly. Unexpectedly, the bud actually swayed up and down, as if nodding. Leonard suddenly felt a sense of absurdity. I have been studying for a whole day and barely managed to cook a pot of defective products. Nauya, who has been watching, actually said that she has learned it. Leonard reached out for the material suspiciously, and clearly felt the pull from the ancient buds. It probably cannot perform two fine operations by itself, and can only give Leonard some hints and guidance at critical moments. Leonard thought for a while, and lit the cauldron again, intending to try brewing potions under the guidance of the ancient sprouts. Soon, a pot of color-changing soup was brewed. During this process, the ancient sprouts provided a lot of corrections, making the color of the soup more vivid. Then it's a matter of waiting for the color to change 7 times before adding subsequent materials. Leonard emptied his mind, followed the guidance of the ancient sprouts, and put in the materials in the color change of the soup. In the process, the ancient sprouts also let Leonard adjust the size of the flame, changing the level of boiling of the soup. So it's a temperature change problem, Leonard muttered, finishing the potion with the help of the ancient sprouts. Soon, 4 bottles of clear and pure potions, like red wine, were placed in front of Leonard. It actually succeeded. Leonard looked at the ancient buds who were smugly swaying to ask for credit, with mixed emotions, mixed with sadness and joy. The joy is that it will be much more convenient for him to brew potions in the future. With the help of ancient sprouts, he can easily brew high-quality potions. The sad thing is that my talent is not as good as a plant of unknown origin, which sounds really sad. After being able to concoct the wolfsbane potion, Leonard began to improve it. Of course, Leonard couldn't make any beneficial changes to the formula. After all, he didn't have the knowledge reserve of Damocles' bell, nor did he have the experience of his potion master. He could only find a way from the ingredients. There are 3 kinds of plant-based potion materials in the Chimajasma potion, which are mature aconitum, belladonna and rue. The former 2 are both poisonous and have a certain hallucinogenic effect, while the latter has a certain detoxification effect. Other auxiliary materials mostly have a sedative effect. The wolfbane potion made of these materials is actually a powerful sedative, allowing the werewolf to forcibly calm down and maintain sanity during the full moon night. Therefore, wolf poison potion has no effect on treating werewolves. The only thing that can heal a werewolf is a spell called the Restoration Charm, which turns a werewolf wizard back into a human form. It's a pity that the old wizard who created this magic has been assassinated by a clown named Gilderoy Lockhart with the Oblivion Curse. Although the main function of wolfbane potion is to calm down, those are mainly used in conjunction with the main material aconitum. If it is purely for calming, the werewolf will only be forcibly calmed down instead of regaining human consciousness. Leonard thought and found a paper. Well, aconitum is essential, belladonna is an auxiliary, and rue is to neutralize toxins, and the enhancement focuses on aconitum. Belladonna does not need to be strengthened, and detoxification rue needs to be strengthened, otherwise the strengthened aconitum it will poison people to death. Just as Leonard was thinking about how to modify the ratio in the potion formula, Gray flew in from the window with a letter in his mouth. Leonard took the envelope and opened it, and found that it was from Midgard. And the content of the letter is that Quirrell attacked a goblin who was out and controlled him with the Imperious Curse. The letter also agreed on the meeting place, which was the place where he negotiated with Damocles' bell. Finally couldn't help it, Leonard tore the letter into pieces and threw it under the cauldron to be burned. It seems that Quirrell did not intend to violently attack Gringotts, but sneaked in quietly by controlling the goblins. This was normal, no matter how strong Voldemort was when he was alive, he was just a remnant soul after all, and it was impossible for him to forcefully break through Gringotts' defenses. It's just that this method is good, but it's not good for Leonard. If Voldemort and Quirrell don't attract enough firepower, the risk of him trying to grab Gringotts will be greatly increased. It would be much easier without Voldemort. Leonard could use the enhanced bitterthorn venom he collected as a powerful sweating potion. At that time, you only need to throw Cuckoo into Gringotts, bring down Quirrell and the Gringotts guards, and you're done. Then they go in and loot, wake Quirrell up and make him a scapegoat, and you're done. It's a pity that the existence of Voldemort made Leonard's idea impossible to implement. Leonard also didn't know if the bitterthorn venom could bring down Voldemort, who was in an unknown state. The risk was too great. But Voldemort obviously doesn't know about Gringotts' defenses either. Just an Imperious Curse cannot break into Gringotts' vault. On the path leading to the vaults in Gringotts, there is a waterfall that washes away all magical effects, including the Imperious Curse and Polyjuice Potion's transfiguration magic. Leonard tapped unconsciously with one hand on the table, thinking about possible changes in the process of Quirrell's invasion of Gringotts. Let's meet with Midgard first, and discuss a specific action plan. Leonard took his wand, took a few seeds of biting kale and a few seeds of bitter brambles, and left the leaky cauldron, heading towards the leaky cauldron. Go to the corner of Diagon Alley and Nocturne Alley. Soon, Leonard met Marcus, and under his leadership, he saw an anxious Midgard. Seeing Leonard, Midgard breathed a sigh of relief. What should we do next? Should we give up the plan? That guy doesn't seem to be planning to break into Gringotts. Give up. Think about how much money you have now. Do you want to go back to the embarrassment of the past? Leonard cheered Midgard up, and with one sentence, it hit Midgard's heart. Midgard is softer than Fenrir, and has more racial concepts. She can't bear to watch the suffering of the same people who don't want to degenerate. The only way to keep them from suffering is to have enough galleons. But our robbery seems to be no different from Fenrir and his gang. Midgard said hesitantly. Of course it's different. Our goal is the property belonging to wizards that was seized by goblins. How could it be the same as Fenrir's blackmail and robbery? Leonard said righteously, their actions are at most punks, and our actions are grand thieves who rob the rich and give to the poor. But we don't intend to help the poor either. Just say you are poor. It seems to be quite poor. That's it. It's fine to rob the rich goblin and give money to the poor. Poor dogs have no choice. Leonard waved his hand, signaling Midgard to stop his unnecessary random thoughts for the time being. Now we need a careful plan, a plan to get us safely to the Gringotts vault. What are you going to do? Asked the inexperienced Midgard. Let the goblin take us in. Leonard nodded to Gringotts. Greedy goblins will not refuse the gallon that comes to their door. Midgard looked at Leonard blankly. How could they bring us in? She couldn't help asking, unless they're crazy. Be more flexible in your thinking, Midgard. You can't think of yourself as a madman who wants to rob Gringotts. Leonard shook his head. In short, the number of people in this operation should not be too large. Once there are too many people, it will look very suspicious. Leonard opened a map, which was a topographic map of Diagon Alley, and the middle part was their target this time, Gringotts. Your people have been watching Quirrell, right? Do you know where he's going? Leonard asked. It should be this way. Midgard pointed to the back door of Gringotts. The goblin he controls takes this way to and from get off work, and it belongs to the internal passage. Leonard stared at the map for a while, then smiled knowingly. A very conventional idea. Leonard pointed at the front door of Gringotts. You, me, just the two of us are on standby at the front door, and you can find a few more. No, a strict-mouthed one, just Marcus, and make a big-name invasion at the back door. Illusion. Well, pretend, no need to go in, just let the guards at Gringotts know that someone has invaded through the back door. Leonard said seriously, make a big noise, and leave as soon as possible after leaving traces of intrusion. Don't be discovered by others. Just let the guards know that someone entered Gringotts through the back door. In that case, Gringotts will be in chaos, and the entire Gringotts will be closed, and we won't be able to escape, Midgard said. Why are we running? We are just guests who intend to open a vault in Gringotts. Leonard smiled slightly. You should have a container for the traceless extension spell, right? Yes. Are you planning to secretly take Garen away with the container of the untraceable extending curse? That's definitely not possible. Someone will check before you leave. No, I said it all. We are a normal group of guests, we will not be afraid of inspection. Leonard waved his fingers. All we need is a period of chaos at Gringotts, a place where no one has the energy to pay attention to us. Time. I don't understand, Midgard said honestly. She felt that her brain seemed to be a little insufficient. You don't need to understand, everything will be up to me when the time comes. Leonard said, by the way, remember that the container should not be too large. If possible, it is best to use the kind that cannot be entered. Is that all right? Midgard was a little skeptical. That's all. Leonard nodded. Many people like to do bad things at night, as if when night falls, the dark environment will become their protective color. But in fact, the dark night will make people's vigilance to the maximum, and a little bit of wind and grass will alarm others. And when people are least vigilant, it is when they are about to leave work after a busy day. At dusk, Quirrell, in his robes, made his way quietly to the back door of Gringotts. There are very sensitive magic detection devices near Gringotts, and anyone who tries to approach with the disillusionment charm will set off the alarm. So Quirrell didn't use the disillusionment charm, but sneaked in when the guards were distracted. Not far away, the goblin guarding the back door was drowsy, squinting his eyes and looking around. Suddenly his ears moved, as if he heard something unusual. The guard stood up vigilantly, and was about to take a closer look at the situation when he heard the sound of the door opening. The back door of Gringotts opened, and a goblin in formal attire poked his head out and looked around. "Don't be lazy," he called to the guard. "Okay, I know, I won't be lazy." He found out that he was a colleague, and there was nothing suspicious around him. The guard responded lazily and sat back, laughing at himself for worrying too much. This is Gringotts, how could anyone have the guts to break in here? There are not only goblin guards here, but also at least 20 aurors on standby. As long as he sounded the alarm, those aurors could surround Gringotts in an instant, make the surrounding area impenetrable, and teach the intruders a harsh lesson. Gringotts is the safest bank in the world. The goblin guard sighed. However, just as he was sighing about the safety of Gringotts, the back door closed, and the goblin who opened the back door was bowing his head and saying hello to Quirrell. "Master, everything is ready, you can go to the vault at any time," said the goblin in formal attire. His eyes were a little dull, like a controlled puppet. He opened the door just now to let Quirrell in. In fact, he is a controlled puppet, controlled by Quirrell with the Imperious Curse. The Imperious Curse, one of the 3 unforgivable curses, can control the minds of others. The most frightening thing about it is that people under control will naturally think that they are acting according to their own ideas, and their habits and personalities will not change in the slightest. Naturally, no one will find out whether a person is under the Imperious Curse control. Quirrell looked the goblin in the eye and said, "Take me to Dumbledore, or the vault in Hogwarts' name." After receiving the order, the goblin's eyes became brighter, and they were no longer dull. "As you wish, Master. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more."